Have you ever wondered if Mexican restaurants in the U.S. are really authentic? Hi there, I'm Jason, and this is Jason's Easy English, a podcast that helps you improve your English and learn about American culture with clear, understandable episodes in everyday, authentic language. Today, I want to share a story about everyday life in the U.S. and how food culture can be surprising for visitors. It's about taking a friend from Spain to a very typical Mexican restaurant here in the United States. And a quick reminder, if you enjoy this content, please don't forget to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Just look for Jason's Easy English. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Before I begin, just a quick note. This story is, of course, fictional, but it's very realistic and reflects real American culture and language. So a friend of mine from Spain came to visit me for the first time. He had never been to the United States before, and he was excited to experience what he called real American life. One evening, I asked him what kind of food he wanted for dinner. He smiled and said, "Surprise me. I want something very American." I thought for a moment and said, "Okay, very American. Let's go to a Mexican restaurant." He looked a little confused. In Spain, Mexican food is not very common, and he wasn't familiar with it at all. He asked me, "Is Mexican food in the U.S. the same as Mexican food in Mexico?" I laughed and said, "Not exactly. You'll see." When we arrived, the restaurant felt very lively. It was colorful, loud, and busy. Families were talking, music was playing, and servers were walking quickly between the tables. Almost immediately, the server brought us chips and salsa. In many Mexican restaurants in the U.S., this happens automatically. The chips are thin, crunchy corn chips, usually made from corn tortillas. The salsa is a sauce made from tomatoes, onions, peppers, and cilantro. Americans usually eat the chips by dipping them into the salsa while they wait for their food. My friend picked up a chip, dipped it, and asked, "Wait, this is just free?" I smiled and said, "Yes. For Americans, this feels very normal, but for visitors, it can be a surprise." Then he started looking at the menu very carefully. He saw tacos, burritos, enchiladas, tamales, and big combination plates. Everything looked large, heavy, and full of cheese. I explained that many Mexican restaurants in the U.S. actually serve something called Tex-Mex. It's Mexican-inspired food that has been adapted for American tastes. That usually means more cheese, bigger portions, and a little bit less spicy flavors. The idea really surprised him. In Spain, when people eat food from another country, they often expect it to be close to the original. In the U.S., it's very common to adapt food and make it local. While we were waiting, he noticed something else. He looked around and said, "I thought everyone working here would be speaking Spanish." That's a very common expectation. I explained that in the United States, Mexican restaurants are often very mixed. Some employees speak Spanish, some speak English, and many speak both. So for Americans, this is a normal part of the experience. Then the food arrived. His burrito was huge, covered in cheese and sauce, and almost bigger than the plate. He stared at it, laughed, and looked at me. His reaction was priceless. When we say something is priceless, we mean it was very funny or very memorable. He tried to eat it, but quickly realized how heavy it was. He said, "This is impossible. I'm going to need a break." When the server came back and asked if we wanted drinks, my friend asked me quietly, "What's a margarita?" I explained that it's a very popular drink in Mexican restaurants in the United States, usually made with tequila and lime. It's something many Americans associate with Mexican food, even if it's not traditional everywhere in Mexico. He decided to try one. He took a small sip, made a face, and then smiled. "Okay," he said. "Now, this really feels American." As we continued eating, he said something interesting. He told me that the experience didn't feel Mexican or Spanish to him. It felt American. And he was right. Mexican restaurants in the U.S. are a big part of everyday American life. Families go there on weekends, friends meet there after work for happy hours, people celebrate birthdays there. Authentic or not, these restaurants are deeply American. By the end of the meal, he was full, relaxed, and very happy. He said, "I didn't expect this at all, but I understand American culture a little bit better now." We both laughed and ordered another margarita. All right, I hope that story was interesting and easy to follow. But before I let you go, let's review what we talked about today. Today we explored American culture through food. We talked about Mexican restaurants in the U.S. and how many of them serve Tex-Mex food. We explained what chips and salsa are, talked about big portions, margaritas, and language expectations. And we learned how food in the U.S. is often adapted to local tastes. All right, that's all I have for today. I hope you were able to understand most of the episode and learn something new about American culture. Be sure to follow or subscribe to my podcast, and please share Jason's Easy English with your friends who are also learning English. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you at the next episode.